morning. We're going to get to it today. If I ever start off the live session in a somewhat quiet tone, it's because I have to remember
Order filled.
that I have, some children asleep. I just entered a trade on gold because my confirmations came in. I've been actually waiting on this break of these equal highs, this range that price has been playing in. But I didn't realize that I was in two contracts by accident. So we're going to just need to cut the cord quickly on that one if I'm getting invalidated by the market. Oh, good. I share my screen. Good. So yeah, price has been. I guess we're getting right to it. Price has been playing in this range, right, since about 6 p.m. yesterday, 7 p.m. It's been playing in this range. Had previously made a nice move from decision-making level to decision-making level, and then began to range. If we look at historical price levels, right, this decision-making level that was created on March 8th, 12th, right? It's the level we're sitting at right now. I usually mark the close, the open or the close of a body, right? But the fact that there is this wick here, based on how these decision-making levels, the three candle structure, historically has worked, for lack of better terms, when we talk about how they appear when news comes out, when we talk about how they appear at institutional levels. And here I'm talking about the three candle structure, the 3, 1, 2, 3. For those of you who've been on these lives, for those of you who have watched previous videos, you know what the three candle structure is. If you do, drop it for somebody in the chat that doesn't. But that three candle structure is money. And so just historically, I don't need to mark it, but I am aware that this is a decision-making level here, right? I am aware of that. Oops, let's not delete. Let's actually get rid of that. I don't want that there. Let's get rid of this one. So you see I have this 1 hour decision-making level here, right? Who knows? Look, that happened back here, right? And so I could leave that there, or if I want a fresh one, delete it. Let's put that one there. Which I don't mind that. I don't mind that at all. Yeah, I mean, getting right to it this morning. I'm not mad at it. Let's see what we got for news. I don't believe we have any news today. No, sir, we do not. We do have some PCI, or excuse me, CPI. CPI on Wednesday. Unemployment claims, of course, every Thursday. Trade balance day. I feel like every time Q has a live session, it always ends on the trade balance. It always begins on a trade balance. It's unfortunate. Then we do have PCE and GDP, Joe's job openings on Friday. So pretty packed back half of the week, but nothing too crazy going on currently. I'm going to pull up my CME Fed Watch tool. I'm just going to make sure I'm understanding of what expectations are for Fed rate cuts. What is that? Next Wednesday. So next Wednesday, March 18th, it's looking like the Fed is not going to be cutting rates. Okay, the Fed is not going to be cutting rates. And I'm going to say it. Gold thrives in two environments. Gold thrives in two environments: policy driven, fear driven, right? Fear. And when I say fear, that's just to keep it very brief, to say the least. Um, but when I say fear, I'm referring to fear across a number of different topics, components, right? Fear in, geopolitics, fear in economic growth, right? Uncertainty, fear and uncertainty in all of those different components, right? And so what I do is I weigh which side is heavier, and that's what I want to see more. That's what I'm researching, that's what I'm understanding, that's what I'm following more of than the other side. So in this current climate, instead of me trying to figure out what policy is going to do and how yields are affecting the market and whatnot, because those are tied to rates, and rates impact gold, having some strength or weakness. Instead of doing that in this current environment, I'm looking at the things that are going on in US Iran. I'm looking at how, the Greenland conversations are going with rare earth minerals. I'm looking at that side of it, the fear, the uncertainty, that side of it, because I mean, we can agree, we've seen it with policy, that over the last month, policy hasn't been driving gold's price movement, right? It's been everything outside of that. The tariffs, right, that got struck down and then reapplied through a different avenue. That is what's been driving price, right? So yes, we've had fallback, we've had some corrections, right? If we look on a daily time frame, yeah, we've had some corrections, but we haven't ever been in a downtrend. Right? We've had some correction. Price is naturally going to correct, but we have never been in a downtrend. And so that's why we say the fundamentals are the force behind market movement, because the movement that has happened, the trend we are in, is because of the fundamental factors, right? And so could there be smaller fundamental impacts? Could policy have impacted price to correct when it has, have a few red days when it has? Potentially, yeah, absolutely. Right? Because the market's not going to just trend ever in one direction. So there is going to have to be some type of correction, right? We can use that verbiage. We can use imbalance. So imbalance is created, and so that imbalance is going to get filled, not because the fundamentals are in favor of filling that imbalance, but just because that is the way the market works, right? That's something historically that we have studied, that to say, okay, when there's imbalance created, that imbalance is going to get filled, even if it's not in the same direction as where we're currently trending, because of what I've been talking about this entire time. There's going to be points of correction. So that's what that's my approach. Literally, that's my approach. And so, the news, I'm not super concerned about the policy. Um, Even the news, to a certain respect, because it's measuring policy. So some of it's gauging policy, right? They're taking the data to inform And when I say they, I'm talking about the Fed, right? And the parties that be that conduct those type of changes, which it's the Fed. Um, but they are looking at the data to make decisions on rates, right? However, some of the data, not all of it, speaks to fear of growth or lack of growth, um, which could signal rates coming down. So something like that can impact the price of gold as well. But honestly, like the news that I've been following over the last couple weeks, couple of months, not a couple of months, couple of weeks for sure, haven't been super impactful on the price. Like normally we would see some pretty aggressive moves on news, but like we can even just look at sometime last week, so March 9th. That was yesterday. So let's go like back to last week. Like this move right here, right? This big drop, and then we had another drop. So let's see if there was any news on March 3rd. Look at that. There was no news on March 3rd. There was some news on March 2nd, but then there was this. I think this is when March 2nd. This is when I'm not sure what that speech was about. I feel like I do know, but I can't go find it in my brain right now. Can't go find it. Um, but what I'm what I'm getting at by this is news hasn't been very reflective, and I just unshared my screen. News hasn't been very reflective of what price is doing, and that's not usually the case. That's not usually the case, but it's not always going to be the same, like all the time on the market. But there's little patterns that we can follow, and just one of those patterns is literally that one thing I said: policy driven or fear driven, whichever side is is more impactful at the time and what is being focused on at the time, then that's the side that I'm going to do some more due diligence on. So I've checked news, I've checked Fed rates. What I haven't checked is the good old Reuters. Let's go on to Reuters. So I bought Reuters. And so we got markets bet that Trump will end Iran war soon, despite threats from both sides. If we look at this little subcaption, Iran said it would decide when the war ended, and in the meantime, keep blocking the Strait of Hormuz. Okay, so I love looking at this stuff, and just sharing our insight, sharing how we think about this stuff when we see it, right? So for me personally, when I see something like this headline and this subheading is meant to be confusing. It's meant to, it's, and maybe it's not, and maybe my brain is just creating something that isn't there. But let me break it down. So this top portion literally says it's giving confidence to the market, right? So if we think about this in the light of gold, if the war ended, would that benefit gold? I'm gonna let you answer. I'm gonna let you think about it. I'm gonna let you think. And this is I'm talking strictly from a psychological marketing ploy on how we look at the markets, right? And so the answer to that question is no. It would not benefit gold. if the war ended. Why? Because remember, I said the market thrives in two separate environments. And the environment that it's thriving in right now is the geopolitics. And that happens on a number of fronts. It's not necessarily just war. So like this the biggest thing from this, um not, let me not say the biggest thing from this, but the takeaway from how war is impacting the markets can be brought up in the Strait of Hormuz and that being blocked, right? And so if that, let's just take this for instance, if this does then open, that provides more certainty, less fear, because that's 20% of the oil market supply and liquid natural gases of the entire world that's being restricted right now. You know what I'm saying? And so this up here is giving hopes for that to happen. So people feel more confident with taking risk, right? Because this presents a level of certainty. So people are more confident taking risks. So as markets bet, first of all, who from the market is like, come on, like who from the market says bet that Trump will end Iran war soon despite threats from both sides, right? So that's one side. And then we have this other side. Trump threatened to escalate the war, but also said it could be over soon. Iran said it would decide when the war ended, and in the meantime, keep blocking the Strait of Hormuz. And so this is still presenting a level of fear, uncertainty, right? So that's just how I'm looking at it. And so I'm going to form my own conclusion anyways, right? I'm going to form my own conclusion anyways. And so do I think Trump could end the war? Like thinking about the possibility of that, I do think that is a possibility, right? It's based on the type of, strategery applied to making those discussions and whatnot. Those are getting those agreements. However, that stuff works. We only see so much of it, right? I hold no political biases, you know. I just go off what I see, right, from that sense. But aside from any of that, trade's looking clean right now. I'm looking to scale in again once we break this 4-hour decision making level. Um, so I'm not too concerned with price, potentially turning around out of nowhere. Why am I not really concerned about that? Now, when I say I'm not concerned, that doesn't mean that it's not possible, that it can't happen, right? So me not being concerned is just I have no level of emotion towards the potential of that happening, right? And so we got this MACD down here, right? We got this MACD, and I've used decision making levels, or excuse me, the relative strength index. You guys saw me using that for a couple weeks, and I came back to the MACD. The MACD said, why don't you, come on home, come on home. So I said, you know what, I'll come on home. I forward tested the RSI enough, and so when I went back to the MACD, I was able to see the way we used MACD. I wasn't able to get that same type of analysis, observation with the RSI. It was too speculative. Like there wasn't any real consistency in the way that um, price communicated with the RSI. Right? It was kind of any type of price action was similar, a similar representation on the RSI. So it was difficult for me to utilize that the way I wanted to, right? And so I came back to the MACD. So based on what price is currently doing, why I'm not super concerned with it potentially turning around is this is the 15-minute time frame, right? And we got fresh volume. And what do I mean by fresh volume? So if you keep going to the left, you see how, okay, when buyers are stronger, there are white bars, right? And so the more white bars, the stronger the price, right? So the more white bars, the stronger the price, right? If you just look at all these down here. And so we're only on bar 2 over here, right? That's just how I'm thinking about it. Like somebody could use this completely different, but I'm applying some logic to this to be able to say, okay, what are my risks and where do they lie? Right. And so this is the 15-minute time frame. I've based on historical context. You guys are going to hear us say that all the time because when we're talking about systems, it's important to know that it's been built over time. We just didn't wake up and say, hey, I'm going to use this thing called the MACD. No, they didn't work like that. So it's important to know based on the historical context, I'm comfortable with the one thing having to happen is that just randomly price just falls out of the sky based on what the MACD is at right now. And I'll keep monitoring it, right? And as price moves sideways, just because we have white volume bars, that doesn't mean price can't move sideways. But like I said, right? Then we got the 5 minute. This is my execution time frame. This is my execution time frame. So when did I enter that trade? I entered that trade at 6:01. I literally had just got on a live stream because I've been waiting for it. I've been waiting for it. It was this candle right here. It's this candle right here. So my entry came right about here. Right. And then you saw that I entered 2 contracts completely by accident. And so I was gonna cut that trade the moment that I got invalidation. But I didn't get any invalidation, right? So because I only risked $250 per trade. And if you guys saw that setup right there, that was 19 points. Because this is how I would have played this. If I if I only took 1 contract, this is how I would have played this. I would have had my stop loss right here. So when price breaks this 1 hour decision making level, I'm out. I'm out. And I would be taking this probably to about 52.80. Give me a nice clean number. Ideally, I would want to take this to this 1 hour decision making level, but we can be honest and say that 175 points, if you've been trading gold futures, is not impossible, but it's not probable either. I guess in this environment, I'll say things been cooking. Things been cooking in this environment. Um, and so, maybe I'll play it to where I'll take it to 52.80. If we aren't slowing down at all, then I'll scale back in. And I choose 52.80 because 74 points is a little more probable. Even 100, 110, if I said 30, 53, 15, 108 points, that's feasible, right? But I'll begin monitoring around 52.80 as far as sliding my stop loss into profit, right? Because right now I'm not super concerned. As we reach this 4 hour decision making level, I will look to slide. I will look to electric slide this stop loss somewhere. I wasn't given enough room to breathe. 750, 300. No, we're just gonna let it ride a little bit more. We're just gonna let it. Ideally, I can get my sliding stop loss to be right at this 4 hour decision making level, or maybe just below it. So that's what I would do. And then at 52.80 level, take profit. Yes, yes. I'm glad that he said that. That was the one thing. I don't know if I showed that. Baby pips meter, risk on, risk off. Look at this. Look at this. Look at gold. Gold is. I don't think I've ever seen it get cute. Like, come on, be honest. Let's be honest. Have we ever seen this like this? Like so easily risk on everywhere else, but when it comes to the gold market, completely risk off. I don't think I've ever seen it that clean. Like, please let them know in the chat, Q. Please let them know in the chat because it's exactly what we were just talking about. Like, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. What's the dollar doing? Let me check what the dollar's doing. Um, and I haven't been super worried about what the dollar's doing because of the way gold has been moving. It hasn't been moving like the traditional way we know it to be moving. When the dollar's down, gold is up. When the dollar's up, gold is down. It hasn't been doing that. And it's just funny because there's a reason. And so all we have to do is look for it. And so now we feel like we understand the reasoning, right? Because gold thrives in how many environments? Come on, come on. I can't hear you. I can't hear you. Can't hear you. Okay, there we go. Two environments. Two environments, right? And those in both of those environments also change over time. You know what I'm saying? Um, so there's just when I think about the fundamentals and how they could impact price, whatever you're trading at all. The variables, there are so many variables that there's no way to like that's why I think it's important for us to understand why where our perspective comes from because we can't predict anything, you know? Like I don't care how good you are at understanding fundamentals or whatever the case is. Like even people that are on TV and that have their own shows like CNBC and Bloomberg and like all those people, like great, probably. Like I've not taken anything away from the sense of their education or their knowledge or so on and so forth. I'm talking because of that education and knowledge, they still aren't even able to predict accurately 100% what is going on. Oh, my light just turned off. But they can't even predict what is going on um and how that could impact the future. Like they can't even see this stuff. Just give me a second. I need to fix my light. This is your water break. Getting some correction from from what from what come on. This is not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence. So we are getting this weak volume bar on our 5 minute MACD time frame. Okay. Why did I emphasize 5 minute? Because we know the different time frames impact the way the indicators display information. Indicators, including candlesticks in this specific context, right? Because candlesticks are a type of indicator, but we're not going to go there right now. We're not going to go there right now. Oh, you guys can't even see my screen. We're not going to go there right now. Um, and so we are getting this weak volume bar on the 5 minute. But remember, I showed you the 15 minute a little bit earlier, right? And so because on lower time frames, price action does look different, it plays with our psyche more when we are watching more price action happen. So whenever I need to pull myself away from the the dollars, like what they're doing, what price is doing, right? I always look at a higher time frame to kind of just quiet those jitters, right? Because who wants price to just completely fall out of nowhere, right? And so that is a possibility sometimes, but there are tools that we can use to be able to understand and give us that peace when we're trading, right? We can't understand everything. We just have to also understand this is a game of probabilities. Sometimes it's going to work and sometimes it's going to not work. And so when it is working and it's working, and then it reaches a point of it potentially not working, like we can't be faced, right? Because it's going to happen. It's a game of probabilities. Um, but there are things that we can look at from a technical sense to be able to provide more of that confidence. So the 15 minute looks fine to me. 15 minute looks fine to me. 52.47 1 hour FV to the G. There's that area there. Yeah, I like where we're at right now. I'm not. Cause I just think about it. Maybe I think too much about the fundamentals. I think sometimes that does get me in trouble. Um, but like from a fundamental sense, there's nothing turning down right now. There's like that. We only looked at one article, right? But I ran bets on endurance, energy disruption to outlast US, right? So like we're talking about fear. We're talking about how things are going right now. Like we can't think this is possibly good, right? And I have multiple perspectives about these type of events, but I'm not going to share them. Not it's not maybe that's a time to talk on a podcast probably, but I'm not going to go too deep into it here. But the point I'm getting at is the fundamentals are the force behind market movement, right? So that also gives me some peace of mind of not being super concerned, not looking to just take my profit, right? Because I think the real force behind market movement is stronger than the potential for it to just tank. And it could, like I'm not saying that it can't, and I'm prepared to cut the cord if it does, right? Like I'm not just gonna like, and I have been in the past where I'm in a trade like this, and then it if goes in the other direction, And then I just get hopeful because I'm like, damn, we were just in $600 in profit. And now I'm in $150 in drawdown, $200 in drawdown, 250 in drawdown. Now I'm hitting my limit, 300 in drawdown. And I'm just being hopeful because I'm holding on to what was there. Right. And I don't need to be like that. And we're not going to be like that on this live session because I need to practice what I preach. And it's a lot easier to do that when I got y'all on the live to hold me accountable. And I forget, you can't even see my screen. Can't even see my screen. But yeah, I need to hold on because when I add to another contract, I need to remove that I'm already in one. All right. Let's see what happens. 15 minutes, still looking solid. Thinking relatively to our signal line, there's still a good amount of room for our signal line to move, right? So it's sitting right now at what, 8.0, right? It still has about another 4 to 6 points to move. So that's something this is just little patterns that we've paid attention to, we've noticed. So when we talk about relativity, it's you can look at relativity in the same way that you would look at price action. How you would, look for areas of highs, equal highs, lows, lower lows, equal lows, stuff like that. Like from a price structure sense, you can do that same thing with the MACD, and it's gonna provide the same type of analysis of but directly of buyers and sellers. And I mean, well, the candlesticks are an analysis of buyers and sellers as well because we have bullish and bearish candles. So yeah, it's gonna do exactly the same thing. So if you haven't, start, try to use the MACD like that because that's how we use it. We don't enter on buys when we don't have a buyer's volume, and we don't take sells when we don't have seller's volume. We don't like to take buys when relativity is an issue, right? So looking at this right now, we're at a point on our 5 minute. And remember, like, this is when you start working all the time frames in together. The higher the time frame, the stronger the way the price action is displayed. Should leave it at that. And so if you look right now, relativity, we could say relativity is an issue, potentially. I could argue that it potentially is an issue right now, right? But then I also do see we had this area of price where we were higher than anywhere on the MACD, but not on price. So that's a discrepancy I'm noticing. Like, okay, dang, we got all the way up to this high at this level of price. So I feel like being above this level doesn't being above this area here, where is it at? Right here. Like this is at like 4.0. But this is already after a lot of volume came in. You know what I'm saying? So I think the volume that came in here was reflective of price over here. So those are just some things that you can look for and just start to notice the patterns, start trying to pick out the patterns. Because that's all I personally use the indicators for. And I think that's what indicators are for revealing patterns. That's, an honest, same thing with candlesticks. Like I hear people all the time Traders all the time talking about they don't use indicators. Why do I need indicators? Or somebody will say, I saw there's this um I think there's a Facebook post that I had saw, and it was from Top Step actually. Top Step posted a Facebook post. But people were just like there's a good amount of people that were saying, I use Ichimoku Cloud or I use MACD. But then there's a good amount of people just like not just saying they don't need indicators or they don't use them, but saying like they're dumb, basically. Like, who needs them? And I just find that really funny because anything that has any historical context to it. And so, what do I mean by that? Indicators have been around for years, right? We're going to say at least 20 years, right? But I'm pretty sure when did my dude from that created the Ichimoku Cloud, when was that? That was in 1970. I'm literally butchering his name right now. It's like on the tip of my tongue. It's on the tip of my tongue. Goichi Hazoda. Goichi 19. So he created this in the 1930s. Just so y'all look, right? It's public information. Like, this isn't okay, my fault. 1960s. But it say right here was developed in the 1930s. And I believe the story is he didn't bring it to people to trade, right? For 30 years. Like, come on, let's think about that. That's what we're doing with trading right now. We find out he worked on his edge for 30 years. He worked on his, and you think that I'm gonna stop trading? Yo, he worked on his edge for 30 years. And so when I hear people say just they're just ridiculous comments. I truly think they've had a bad experience. Um, and it's just kind of impacted them. Because yeah, I'm gonna ask one question. I'm gonna ask one question. If you could have a tool that makes something easier, and you had the choice between choosing to use that tool or not using the tool, and so let me because I want to put this in a way that gets my point across. So with the tool, that it can help. Like, there's no question about it, because it's the tool. The tool was made to do what it was made to do, right? Or you can choose to not use the tool, and it may not be harder, but it's never gonna be as good because you have a tool that can help. You just ask yourself, which one would I do? I just want to use this one because I don't want to use the tool, right? Like, no, I'm gonna use the tool. I hope that analogy makes sense. But yeah, so whenever I see stuff like that, I just find it funny because from a historical context, we're talking the 1930s, 30-year development period, 30 years working on your edge. And that's the Ichimoku Cloud, right? MACD, I'm pretty sure I haven't looked into the MACD's history actually. Um, but I'm sure it has the same type of historical context to it. And so as we're getting this price that really, really rejected this 4-hour decision making level. To me, that's not a coincidence. To me, that's not a coincidence. But that is exhibit A of why I shouldn't be trying to trade through decision making levels. That's exhibit A. So let's see what we get here. I'm in 2 contracts, so I don't have a ton of breathing room um, to be able to go into drawdown. Like I do, but to be within my risk management system, my 250 per trade, I got about okay. I got about 18 points. I got some room, right? Because if we look down here, I'm identifying some support. We'll call it. We'll call it support because that's what it is. This decision making level here, ideally holding price up. And yes, I know this is the 5 minute, but decision making levels, they're the sign language of the market. I'm gonna tell you right now, they're the sign language of the market. Oh, and I actually had this. Look at this. So I apologize because I just have to go in on this. And every time that I see it, I have to go in on it because I need you guys everywhere on the YouTube sphere to understand why this is so good. Just from a level analysis, right? So we got this 5 minute decision making level. Not to mention on the same time frame, we have this 5 minute decision making level. Wait. And we have this one, right? So we have, we'll call it 3 decision making levels at this one area of price on the 5 minute time frame. Okay. And then I go to the 15 minute, and then I see we have this decision making level, right? Right? Hold on. But then earlier you just saw me mark the 1 hour decision making level that all of this is happening on, right? So when we say decision making level, those are areas you can count on the buyers taking over, the sellers taking over, or price simply consolidating. Like you can count on that. There's nothing else that you have to look for to measure your levels. Like we have seen this happen just way too many times. It's way too many times. You know what I'm saying historical context with something like trading. I appreciate anything that has historical context. anything I'm open to listening. Anything. I'm open to listening to new things as well. Just so you guys know, like new ideas, new stuff. Yeah, I'm open to stuff like that as well. But let's see, price. Let's see what's it. Oh man, hold on. Hit him with a yawn. That's the first yawn of the morning. I can't be yawning. Can't be yawning. And so Q will appreciate this, but if he was in this trade, he would be thinking the same thing. And Q, correct me if I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, bro, that's cool. That's cool. But because we are looking at the MACD, right? In an ideal world with this MACD, what we get is Because before, remember we talked about the relativity, right? We talked about the relativity. So when we did make this drop, this recent correction that we just had on my trade, we were at this portion, this peak, we'll call it. We were, right? We were right on there. Like look at my dotted line. It's at the same level as nearly all three of those, right? And so in a perfect world, what we get is a, a slight correction like we have that gives this signal line time to come down, volume to decrease, only for us to do something right like this on the MACD, right? Where and the volume does the same thing. Volume, we may get a little bit of sellers coming here, and then all of a sudden we get the buyer's volume come back, right? And that's happened enough from an historical context sense to say that's a possibility. Um, so I'm looking at that. I'm looking at that. Like I said, I'm not hopeful. If we get down here, I gotta tell about this decision making level before I'm cutting the cord. I gotta tell about this decision making level until I'm cutting the cord. Period. It is what it is. It is what it is. See, I got about 7 minutes left on this call. Oh, he said Q did say he's in on the same play. 52-10 entry. Hey, great minds thinking like that. I mean, that speaks a lot to the system. I think that's funny, just because that's really cool if you think about it too, because we can see the picture of when our VXT confirmations are all present. Like we know what that screenshot looks like, and we understand what we mean by that because we know what to look for. Like it's gonna be there at once. So when I say screenshot, I know Q is on the other side of his computer. He knows exactly, like an image came in his mind of a screenshot of a VXT entry when I said that. That's funny. Yeah, this 4 hour decision making level is either going to get broken or it's going to get activated as a force field. So if we come back to this level, how I plan to play this is I'm going to monitor what price is doing once it gets up here, right? I'm going to be looking at the MACD. I'm going to be looking at my 15-minute time frame, right? I'm going to be getting some other signals based to understand the strength of buyers, the strength of buyers. Because I want to know if we have enough strength to continue upwards, right? And if I feel like we do not, then I'll collect my profit. Why will I collect my profit? Because we'll be revisiting a 4 hour decision making level, right? And I can always scale back in. Like, I can always scale back in. I do like to let my runners run. I do like to let my runners run. I don't like to scalp. I I just don't. I have nothing wrong with people that do like to scalp, but I personally just don't like to scalp because it just feels too emotional, right? It just feels too emotional from a money sense. And so maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong for thinking that, but who cares? I'm gonna be wrong about some stuff. I would be wrong about some, but yeah, I know. I'm just playing. I'm just playing. I'm just playing. See what we get, man. Come on, come on. Oh, that's 2 yawns. Time for that black coffee. That's what it's time for. Nice cup of black coffee. Make my daily McDonald's run. It's the only thing I go to McDonald's for. Y'all don't fire me. Don't cancel me. I do go to McDonald's only for the black coffee. I promise. That's all I've gotten. I don't be getting no McMuffins. I don't even get the hash brown anymore. Black coffee, medium. Sometimes I'll go iced coffee. So sometimes I will do the ice. I will do the ice joint. But 9 times out of 10, black coffee. No creamer. Straight to the straight straight for the jugular. Straight for the jugular. I'm cooling right now. Oops. Let's just slide that there. This is my 50K trading combine account. I believe last Tuesday, I told you guys what happened. I'm pretty sure I did. And if I didn't, here's a reminder. I blew another account. Blew another one. This was a express funded account. So we were in the paid stage. And got hopeful, got greedy, and abandoned my risk management rules. That's it. Nothing besides that. But now we back. Because you just saw that Goichi. Remember that guy? Goichi Hazoda. 30 years. Worked on his edge. 30 years. So you think I'm about to quit because of one blown account or 2 blown accounts or 3 blown accounts? Trust me, the goal is not blown accounts. I understand that. Oh man, I can't keep yawning. It's too early in the day. It's too early in the day to be yawning. That's what I was talking about. Signal line gonna come down a little bit. Now we got that seller's volume come in. Let's give some room for buyers to step back in. If they plan to step back in, I don't know what's gonna happen. So it is 7 o'clock. It is 7 o'clock. So we're gonna go ahead and wrap this up. Gotta get ready for work. Gotta make sure I got time to get that black coffee. You know what? Actually, I forgot. I don't have anybody to drop off at school today. Let's go. We're gonna sit on this for another 15 minutes. because I saved 30 minutes today in traveling. So we're gonna celebrate together. We're gonna celebrate together. And we'll just see what happens. We'll just see what happens. Man, you give somebody your number one time, they gonna call you until you answer. I don't have much to talk about anymore. We just sitting on here at this point, right? We gonna watch this trade play out. Um, but I want y'all to digest the things that we've already talked about to this point. We're just gonna watch this play out. Just look at the MACD. Keep watching the MACD, right? How what price is doing, right? That's what I'm focused on right now. That's what I'm looking at. Be right back. Oh, I'm gonna love the scaling if we get price to come back up here, like, and we give some more room relatively for this MACD to flourish, buyers to flourish. I'm going to love the scaling. Right, it's all about, for me right now. It's all about cutting the cord. First of all, right? I'm telling myself right now, do not get hopeful. Do not get hopeful. Right, and that's those reminders are needed. Do not get hopeful. Cut the cord. Cut the cord. I love that saying. Cut the cord. Um, but on the other side of that, if I get price back up here, monitoring what's going on with volume, monitoring what could happen at that level. Because I'll want to scale in for sure. I'll want to scale in. I got that 1 hour candle. And ironically enough, right, at this area where price is, look what's here. This was that wick from that 1 hour decision making level that we were looking at earlier. This is that wick from it. Right? So we that that price action is just so beautiful. Like literally from this level to this level. And now this is the area of decision making. Sellers are trying to take over. I have about until this decision making level right here before I need to cut the cord. Still within my rules. Within my 250 still. This is where we gotta let the emotions aside. We gotta really be hyper intentional about what we're thinking. Like what's going through my mind right now is not panic, right? It's, okay, we're good. Be calm. Be calm. It's hard. It's hard to go from being in $600 profit to and draw down $50, $100 without spiraling. Trust me, we understand it's hard. That's why we're on here doing this together, so you can see in real time, right? I'm not panicking. I have my risk rules. Once we get there, I'll cut the cord. If we're not there, there's no reason to panic at all. And there's no reason to panic if we do get there. It's a game of probabilities. That's what we tell ourselves. We win a trade, game of probabilities. We lose a trade, game of probabilities, right? Doesn't change. We don't say that we did something right when we win and it's the game of probabilities when we lose. That's not how it works. I actually don't mind this, right? Because when we were talking about relativity, look at what it's done to our MACD signal line. Look what it's done to our signal line. And so now buyers won't have to step in much, like as far as the change in structure. A lot won't a lot won't have to happen from candlesticks to give me that change in structure here, right? And so buyers could easily come back to this level. This is not me being hopeful. This is just what I'm thinking about as for the lifespan of me being in this trade, right? Trying to think, okay, what does it look like for us to get back to where we need to go? Um, and so, like I said, buyers can come back up to this level without there being much net price action necessarily. But it won't reflect on here as quickly as it will reflect on here because of the correction and because of the move. And you'll see what I'm talking about. If it happens, I'll be able to walk through it. Hopefully, it happens in the next 5 minutes. And I said, hopefully, for the sake of this live stream, as we are getting some strong correction still. but we're on this decision making level. So if it breaches this decision making level, I will cut the cord. If it does not breach this decision making level, I'll hold my position. Just be patient. About 2 minutes left. 2 minutes left. Good morning, baby. And I'm not saying that I know what's gonna happen, but this decision making level, this is what I'm looking at. Like that's like for me, that's validating enough. Like regardless of the outcome of this trade, um, like I can look back at things that I could have done better on this trade, like found a way to collect profit. Right. I could have definitely done that better for sure. Um, without being fearful, without doing it and being fearful. But this we get this strong push down, and then I get this price action, right? These wicks, this resistance at this decision making level. Like I just love to see that. Regardless of what happens on this trade, that is not a coincidence right there. So, but I'm going to stay in this trade. I'm not going to stay on the live stream, but I am going to drop the link for the Profits and Lessons channel in our Bloom community, our Circle community. We were on Discord a long, long time ago, as it feels like now. But we went and made the switch over to Circle just to provide a more intuitive trading community, trading space. So I am going to put that in the description of this video. because I will post later, and I'm sure Q will post later as well, how the trade went for today. So you'll see that getting updated in the description of this video. Appreciate you hanging out with me for an hour and 15 minutes. Hopefully, I was able to get your day started off on the right foot. Hopefully, you learned something. And if you didn't learn something today, hopefully, you have something to learn. We have some cool stuff coming for you guys really, really soon. I promise. I know last Tuesday I mentioned a kind of giving you guys the prompt that we use to do research on our end. But then we thought about that a little bit more, and there's actually a little bit more that we can do for the community rather than just provide the prompt, right? So we always like to bring value to those who see us as valuable. And with that being said, we'll have something coming for you. It's a 30-day AI boot camp masterclass. Those are all the same thing, boot camp masterclass. But regardless of the fact, it'll be on AI, it'll be on how to use AI to do macro research, and we will give you the entire structure that you simply just need to go out and open up your web browser, look up the AIs that we'll have listed out for you, and get to work. So excited to bring that to you guys here really soon. Just be a little be as patient as we were in this trade today, right? I'm not jumping up and down, I'm not hooting hollering, but we're back in profit, right? We've gotten that buyers to step back in after sellers came and stepped back in. This is kind of what I was exactly what I was talking about a second ago. There won't n- need to be a lot of price action to get us back to this level, and there won't be a big change in our MACD if that does happen, right? And so a couple more candlesticks, we'll be at this high, right? And we probably still won't even have buyer's volume yet. Like these white bars, we'll have seller's volume weakening, but we won't have that buyer's volume present yet, which is what I wanted to see as we get to this level. I will take off my take profit if that continues to happen, and I will scale in, right? But I'll make sure to collect this time as we move upwards. But with that being said, we will be back live on Thursday. The main man, the legend, Q Quentin Trades will be live Thursday. I'm sorry, Q, that you have to go live on Thursday because it's trade bounce day, and so hopefully that you do get some excited things to talk about, or you get to just talk about trade bounce. But no, I'm just playing. There's always great stuff to talk about, and Q always does a phenomenal job. I was gonna try to think of something to describe with the letter Q, but I couldn't come up with anything in enough time. So, with that being said, I'm gonna sign off now. I'm gonna go get ready for work. But like I said, description for the Profits and Lessons channel of our communities in the description. It's in the description. The link for is in the description. So we'll see you there. Peace out.